that each one of us has really meaningful journey by him or herself, and in some way it was also touched by you. And I'm sure you too just touched the Eisenhower Fellowship Program. So the journey will be long, but I think this friendship, sisterhood, brotherhood bonding will sort of like the other sisterhood that you will get, or I'm sorry, the brotherhood, siblinghood. And it's about time that we do the reverse gender equality. Yeah, otherwise the boys would be like lost their voice. So we need to recruit the next one. We only recruit men. Yes.
Even if they're not as good as us.
We have to find the best of the lesser.
Oh no.
And we'll make them as good as us.
Very true. Very good.
Yeah, so I'm glad you are on board, and probably my question is, you are doing, Liguina is, I think, taking selfie better than me. Tell me the secret, and I have to keep up with the reputation. No, anyway. What would be your future plans? Having the EF belt on you, what is the future plan that maybe 5 years from now, when you have your cohort reunion, you can say proudly that thanks to EF, this journey somewhat detoured to better way, and that was because of EF. So, is there any plan that you sort of envisioning that thanks to that journey, I have another inspiration and my journey will be better? Okay, langsung.
I think what's interesting is another lesson I learned that I didn't mention in the 3 things, because there's so many things I learned, was to be brave into facing the uncertainty, especially because we were traveling in the middle of the pandemic. We were supposed to take our own tests, self-administered tests for the swab antigen every time we traveled to a different city. So that's what was happening. So I learned to not be afraid about the future, and coming out of that was next year, my team and I are launching a platform that I cannot mention at the moment, but this was something that I've wanted to do since 2016, but I didn't have the courage to start. I was afraid of, what if this happened, what if it doesn't work, what if I don't have the resources, what if I wasn't good enough to do it. But after the journey, it was like, oh well, let's just do it and see how it goes. There's nothing to be afraid anymore. I think that's the one thing that I especially think will be on my belt as a fellow.
So there is consequential personal.
Yeah, there is. The project that I registered in the fellowship after is something else different than, it's still there, but this one that I'm telling you is something that I've always wanted to do since 2016, and I didn't think I have what it takes to do it. So now I'm definitely going to do it. We are already registering it, so it's going to be available next year, and the future is here. So 5 years from now, let's see how much it grows.
Sinto.
Well, I think I don't know what the future holds, but you know, you never know unless you jump with full speed. And I think being part of the Eisenhower cohort is actually helping me to find that courage. And I don't know about 5 years, but since I come back, I started doing more investing. Before I'm doing a lot of mentoring, but now I'm doing more investing, and because of the Southeast Asia cohort, I'm actually looking into Vietnam and Thailand as well. Before it's mostly Indonesia, because apparently a lot of the issue that we face, especially in the space of technology, and the stuff that I'm doing, digital space, it's a lot of it is actually similar. So we start doing that, and I think more on, again, like I mentioned to Uni, the work that we are going to do with MIT Lab is not going to start at all, actually, if it wasn't for the meeting that we had with the MIT Lab during the Eisenhower. So I actually follow up on that, and we're going to have something in the next 6 months, and in the next 5 years, hopefully it's scalable enough, or it has a product, or at least a prototype, that within 5 years we'll see somewhere where it's going with the prototype.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Mbak Sinta, Elisa, Fabi, want to say something, ask something, silakan. Oke, Mbak Sinta.
Ini jangan lupa.
Iya, itu udah pasti. Semuanya mesti ngomong. Oke. No free back.
Nyanyi juga boleh, nyanyi juga boleh.
Closing, yes.
I have just a simple question.
Belum di on.
Terus langsung deg-degan karena mau ditanya. Kayak disertasi sama dosen.
Untung udah bersih nih, udah.
Atas itu Amina perasaan kita udah lewat seleksi deh.
Panelis lagi ya.
My simple question is, what is your thought or your hopes that can be realized when you have the program and EF? If you cannot come up with your hope when you plan to go to the States and you have something that you want to do something and then not realize.
Did you manage to take a picture in front of Rocky statue?
Okay.
I'll answer first. The Niagara Falls honeymoon didn't happen.
We have Grand Canyon in the middle.
We did, yeah, Grand Canyon. We didn't do Grand Canyon. I was supposed to. I remember Putri Mumuna was saying something. Wina, make sure you go not just to the big cities that you as a person can go by yourself. Go to places that you don't think you can travel there by yourself. Like, go to, I don't know, Mississippi, Minnesota, all places far away that is not the typical city that you go to as a tourist, for example. That didn't happen. So we were supposed to be there for 7 weeks, and we only were there for 3 weeks. I think our cohort still, in the group, we still complain about that. How come we didn't get to go 7 weeks? And we're always reminding ourselves, we are lucky enough to be able to travel. During the pandemic, in the middle of the pandemic, and everybody was healthy, nobody got sick. There was a period when I had culture shock because nobody was wearing masks anymore. There was a period of that. Well, in Indonesia, we were like always wearing masks indoor and outdoor. So yeah, a lot of things didn't happen, of course, but we are always reminded that this is the Corona batch. We're just lucky to be able to travel and meet people and.
Historical.
And everybody was very thoughtful about it. I think the EF staff, they went all the way to make sure we were safe. They made sure everybody was fine, helping us with where do we get our PCR tests and stuff like that. You guys didn't carry swab antigen test kits in your luggages. Instead of my 3 shoes or 5 shoes, yeah, and thermometers and oximeters, we have all that in our luggage. So that is the kind of traveling experience that we had, but we were very grateful. A lot of things still didn't happen, and we always keep saying, we need to do more.
Don't worry, there will be more.
Anyway, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
In my case, I spoke to a couple of the other Eisenhower Fellows, Pak Jerry, Bu Mari, before I leave, Mbak Vivek as well, I remember. And then I think when I actually went, and one thing that I always say is open mind, just absorb everything, but be fully prepared on the work that you want to do, so that you can actually gain a lot, because a lot of the people that you meet there has incredible knowledge and incredible network. So to be honest, I get everything I wish for, but because I go with the open mind, and I have friends who's been to the U.S., so I am prepared in terms of they're no longer wearing masks, etc. I even brought my own mask because I don't know how easy it's going to be there and to find it there. But I things that I didn't get to do, the Grand Canyons, etc. is actually I miss that, but of course, I get the other things. A lot of the evenings talks and a lot of the conversations with Trusty, for example, the meaningful conversations with Trusty are actually a lot valuable also for me.
Elisa, Feby, siapa duluan?
Okay, so the mic's on me now. So because when was our fellowship month? Oh, okay, 2019. Just only 8 years ago.
Regional, right?
Yeah.
Regional.
8 years ago.
Yeah, 8 years ago. So because I'm an urbanist, I'm always curious to know what is your favorite part in the cities and why.
Okay.
It was actually my first time going to Philadelphia, and I love it. I mean, I live in New York, I studied there, and I'm quite familiar with. Yeah, I am quite familiar with the West Coast in terms of San Francisco and others because my work brought me to that part of the world very often, and I worked for the World Bank before, so I understand DC a bit. But what I really love is actually, really Philadelphia is really an eclectic mix of super diverse community. We everywhere we go, we see people or we see individuals and families, with hijab. We see families with their kid. So it's very multicultural. And some people, and the mix of, if you go to, close to the Independence Bell, is very different. So I did actually a walk from the hotel, which is a very posh area, all the way to the Liberty Bell, and then you will see some of the area they call ghetto. It's not really ghetto to me because I work for Gojek, so a lot of our drivers live in an area that's even worse than that. But it's really interesting to see those. And then another surprise that I found is I left DC more than 10 years ago. So the area where we stayed was actually not a very nice neighborhood. It was gentrified so much during the time that I no longer live in DC that it is now a very family-friendly area. Another thing that shocked me the most is the impact of the pandemic. Right in front of the Union Station, and we're talking DC, the capital of a nation, but we see homeless people literally camping on the ground of the Union Station. So such is the impact of the pandemic, and it makes me really grateful of being in Indonesia, where the impact of the pandemic is also huge, but at least we have the gotong royong to help us weather this very difficult period as well.
My favorite part is the cities are walkable. I'm a runner, and I always try to find place I can run safely. I don't feel safe running as a woman when I'm in my own country, but I always try to find a running route wherever I go. And I used to travel a lot. I used to travel like 3 cities per week before the pandemic. So after being grounded at home for so many months, traveling to the US was like the first time I could travel for more than a year and a half. So I run in every city, and every single one of them has proper pedestrian walk. They even have, if you Google it up, where should I run in Philadelphia, they'll have like a list of running route that you can go to. Of course, New York has plenty of that, DC as well, and Boston as well. So I really enjoyed that part of the urban areas that we went to. And of course, like Lasita was saying, which one that you regret you didn't do is the other cities that I've never been to, like all the places in the Midwest, for example, that I was planning to go to that didn't happen. But yeah, there's always the next time.
Fabi?
Yes. I'm a 2009 fellow, and I remember when I first introduced to EF is actually by my father-in-law. he is the Eisenhower Fellows, and why didn't you apply? And I said, okay, I think I made my application is a bit late. But I remember that the one that interviewed me is actually Jerry Ng. So one of the richest men in Indonesia right now. But he is the one that interviewed me. And I met, I think the other one that also talked to me is the board member from Boston, Derek Silvers. So that's what I remember. And he asked a lot of questions why I see things like that. One of the important questions, because when I did my application, this is just sharing a little bit, I mentioned that I'm very critical to nuclear power. And Derek actually read that and he asked me a question, why you are critical to nuclear power? And I explained that a lot. I say I prefer renewable energy than nuclear power because of this and this. I thought I'm not accepted, but then I got the announcement that I actually accepted, right? But during the conversation, I think with Jerry and also with Derek, they mentioned something like, well, Eisenhower kind of actually scouting people. I mean, with their in their mid career, they see people that they can advance their career future and make more contribution to the society. And Eisenhower Fellowship makes that help them to assess it. So I see this as a process when you select some leaders in the community. And when I look at Pak Ismit and Mbak Ai batch in that 1990, you look all the people there. When they accepted in Eisenhower Fellowship, I think they're just like most of the people. I've seen similar like most of the people.